Okay, so I decided for one of these, I'm going to go ahead and film it just because, get that in. So I'm going to go ahead and drill my holes for my flush trim bit, and then I'm going to router it out. Yeah. So you want to drill a hole that's big enough for your router bit to be able to fit through first. Alright, once you got your hole drilled, flip it over and set it up, and we want to clamp it so that the piece of wood doesn't move on us. You want to make sure and keep your clamp out of the way of the router so that I don't have great clamps, guys. I got one good one and two so-so ones, and then I got one that's broke. So, yeah, I don't work out too good usually. My table's not very great, but it works. It's a plastic Costco table. I'm going to set the depth on the router. Make sure you're not going too far in. Alright, we're good to go. Most important thing about using a router, guys, is you're going to go, if the bit's turning clockwise, then you want to go counterclockwise. If the bit's turning counterclockwise, then you want to go clockwise with it. And if you don't know which way your router bit turns, just bump it. Alright. Alright. And that's what we get. An exactly the same as the other one. And you might take your rasp, or you might take a sander, depending on what you're using, you know, and clean it up just a little bit if you need to. But yeah, nothing to it, man. I think I might need to get me a new bit for mine. I've used it a little bit. It's getting a little slow, but yeah, all right, no problem. You know, the router, man, it's not easy to use, but you know, it's worth it. I think my problem right now is my bit's too big. I got a really large bit. I think it's a 1/2 inch is the size of it. Yeah, and that makes a really big cut, and so that, you know, it's harder to go through. And I'm still a novice with the router, you know, so I need to, I'm guessing if I had a smaller bit, it'd cut through the wood a lot easier, a lot faster. So yeah, most important thing when you're using the router is just remember to go slow. At least that's what I tell myself anyway. Just kind of go slow, man, you know, and let the router do the work. Don't try to work the router, let the router do the work. Yeah. All right, let's get some more of these done, and we'll get the ribs done with this box today for sure, and see what it's going to look like in the truck. We need to take some more measurements just to make sure before we start getting everything all together and messing it up. Yeah. All right, so we got these baffles done, almost done at least. I got them tripled up. Yeah, now we need to drill out for the subwoofer. And you know, subwoofers, you know, they send stencils or cutouts for subwoofers, and the last time I used one, it didn't line up too good. And so what I'd like to do, man, is I like to just get the subwoofer out and set it in there, line it up, place it where I want it, and then I'll drill the holes out. That does two things. One is it allows me to make my drill straight, my holes straight up and down, so that I know they're level, you know. And two, it allows me to make sure that the holes are exact. Yes, and so that when I go to put the subwoofer in, after I've put the box together, I don't have any problems. That happened to me once, and I didn't appreciate that, and so that, you know, I don't do that anymore. All right. We got our we call them inserts in. We got our threaded inserts in, and so as soon as we get these holes drilled, we'll take them back apart, and we'll put our threaded inserts in and glue them back together, and our baffles will be done. Yeah. All right. Okay, for anybody that hasn't seen this before, I've taken my drill, and this is my initial hole, and I've taken my drill bit and enlarged the hole so that the fastener will fit in there. Get it going. Let me set my camera up. Alright, so we get it going in there. The most important part about this process is making sure that they're level, straight up and down. So we need to start it very carefully. And when you get it in, you want to get it as flush with the top as you can, because, you know, your outer baffle is going to sit over top of this. Yeah. It's not that difficult. It's fairly simple. Just getting it started and getting it straight is the hard part. It's not hard, but it's the hardest part of doing it. I suggest doing it by hand, not with a power tool. So that's pretty much it. Yeah. So I'll get the rest of these done, and ultimately what's going to happen is the outer baffle will go back over it like this, and so that what's going to end up happening is that the screw is going to go through the baffle into the fastener, and then that way, you know, it'll give yourself a bit more strength. You know, you could always just drill all the way through the baffle and, you know, put a nut on a bolt on the other side of the baffle. You could do that, I'm sure. But I like the fasteners, you know, because it makes it reusable. So anyway, all right, let's get this in. All right, yeah, to get this baffle on, get it straight. One good idea here as you're doing this is to go ahead and put your screws in. Not all the way, just make sure they're in and they're screwed in. This will ensure that they're lined up, that you won't have any problems, that they'll be perfect. This is something that you can do if you don't have a router to get all your edges perfect. And this way, you'll be able to line them up. And go ahead and start screwing. Baffles to be solid, without a doubt. Alright, I'm comfortable with that. So, baffle number 1 down. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the second baffle the same way I've just done the first baffle. And once we got the baffles finished, then it's just a matter of putting it together. Yeah, alright, we'll come back and get a look at it. Alright, moving along here. Yeah, we're getting it together. Got the sides on, got this baffle in, I got the other side on, and I'm getting ready to put this baffle in. I'm sure this is nothing nobody hasn't seen or nobody knows, but you know, you want to try to keep your your boards and baffle consistent. You know, you want to measure the space at the bottom. You know, in this case I've got 7 and 1/8 on each end. This board's a little warped right here for some reason, so when I go to put it in, I'll have to bend it over some, squeeze it in. When I go to screw it down, no problem. Yeah, you know, get your joints really good. You know, nothing serious. This I've done a lot off camera that really got me, man. Getting this edge right here, getting it right, you know, to fit a 90. I cut it so that it'll fit 90 and it'll meet smoothly down this edge right here, and the top as well, so that it ended up being like 22 degrees. You know, I thought there would be an easier way to do that. I had a we call it a kind of like a compass. It's a digital compass, you know, and it measures angles. And for some reason, I don't know, maybe it's off. You know, it's kind of cheap. Maybe it's not calibrated properly. But the first 2 times that I used that on past projects, it didn't work out so good. So this time I just lined everything up before I glued it and screwed it, and just kind of drew lines on it, and then I just worked my saw until you know, I got it to the right angle that it would cut and fit, and you know, it didn't do too bad. So it's basically just kind of like a trial and error. I'm going a whole lot slower on this box than I have in the past. You know, I want to get it right. You know, I'm not good at everything, but those things that I am good at, I want to do to the best of my ability. For example, you know, when you're putting, you know, you're doing something like this, you know, you want it to be square. You know, yeah, you want it to be square so that it's right. You know, you want it to be level, you know, and just get it right. Go slow and get it right, man. You know, you'll thank yourself in the long run. Like I said, I'm not good at everything. Far from it, and I'm sure some of you that might watch this video could see that, you know, there's probably a lot of things that I could improve in, but hey, those things I can do, I'm going to do to the best of my ability, and I encourage all of you to do that. I'm going to get back to this, man, and get this finished, glued and screwed, and we'll come back here in a little bit once we've made some more progress. Yeah? Alright. Real quickly, one more thing that I wanted to say while we're at this is, you know, when you're going to screw these baffles in, for anybody that's going to build a box like this, yeah, you should always start screwing from the front here. And the reason is that as you screw from the front, it's going to draw it up, you know, yeah, and then hit the bottom. Because if you hit the bottom first, it draws it down. Then you won't be able to draw it up. Yeah. So I got my drill, and I'm gonna drill test holes, pilot holes. Get them sunk. I've already brad nailed this. I brad nailed it to hold it. I put the glue in, brad nail it, and then screw it. could use a countersink. I don't have one. Just do it like this. Alright, one more thing I want to say too while we're up here. When you go to screw the bottom here, you know the wood is a lot thinner right there. So you're going to need to measure the depth of a screw, you know, to see how far you're going to be able to get that in, like this. You know, you figure you got 3/4 of an inch of wood, so that's probably going to do good right there. You know, and then you'll measure that to the center, and then you'll go down here to the bottom and measure the same and drill your first pilot hole there, and then work back. And you'll do the same thing up at the front forward. Now I got some other screws too, because I'm still going to screw this area. I'm just not going to use 3-inch screws. I'm going to use 1¼ inch screws. Yeah. All right. Well, another thing too you got to take into consideration. Well, for me, is the baffle. You know, the boat's going to go through the baffle, and so that you don't want the screwing up in the area where the baffle is. So you got to be mindful of that also. Yeah. All right.